Hi guys, this is Stephanie Lowe, CEO and founder of the J29 Experience, and I am so excited to stop by with you guys on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. I decided to go a little bit early today, had a few things going on, and I wanted to make sure that I did not miss reaching out to you guys on today. First of all, thank you guys so much for all of the support for J29. I really appreciate it. I have so many messages coming in. Thank you for the support. Thank you for those who have reached out. Even after the last video, I had so many people reach out about services that J29 can provide. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. What I want to discuss on this afternoon is the narcissistic family. I have gotten so many requests and so many clients who have had issues in dealing with narcissists. This is becoming a rather alarming topic. It's always been around, it's always been there, so it's nothing new. But I think that it's just that we have not been able to identify what a narcissist is. We know the traits and we can relate to the traits on an everyday basis, but actually being able to identify and place a name on this particular thing, I think is something that we as common people have not been able to do. Now, I will say I am not an expert. I am not a behavioral expert. I am not a licensed or certified psychiatrist or counselor. What I am an ordained minister. I am a person who is an expert as far as personal research. That is what I consider myself an expert to be on. What I will say is that in looking at this particular topic and studying the etiology of this particular behavior disorder, it has opened my eyes tremendously to how many people actually deal with this and to how many people actually come in contact with not just narcissists who are individuals, but narcissistic families. And so I want to dive into that on this afternoon just a little bit. I do have so much information because there's so much information out there, but I'm not going to provide all of that in this particular video. What I'm going to do is give you guys some information and some red flags that I think are extremely important for people to zone in on when they are establishing relationships, whether that be friendships, associate relationships, networking relationships, or even family relationships. Some of us deal with narcissistic behaviors in our own families. And because we are not aware of what that particular disorder is, we don't know how to properly handle it and how to deal with those particular people. So the first thing first is I want you guys to understand exactly what a narcissist is. A narcissist is someone who is excessively concerned about themselves. And I get it. There are so many people who are vain, so many people who are concerned about themselves. I'm not particularly referring to those individuals, but a narcissist is someone who is over the top, excessively concerned about themselves, concerned about how they can get ahead, concerned about how they can benefit from every person who is in their life. They will appear to be very charming. They will appear to be very polite, very kind, very nice. All of the good characteristics is what they will exhibit on the surface. But under the core, they are the exact opposite. And so a narcissist is also someone who is heavily inflated. They have a sense of self-importance. They feel a sense of entitlement. These people have the feeling or the ideology that they are entitled to a particular lifestyle. They feel entitled for people to do things for them. They feel entitled to be successful. So narcissistic people are those who are excessively, overly concerned with themselves, overly concerned with how they can get ahead. And they have no regard for your feelings. They have no regard for who you are. They have no regard for how they use or misuse you, for that matter. So it's extremely important that you understand what a narcissist is before you can even identify what a narcissistic family is and the traits that they carry. Another thing that I typically studied in this was trying to identify how do people become narcissists. And what I found in my research is that people become narcissists when they are going through their infancy years, the child rearing years as their parents are raising them, and they are oftentimes shunned away from having their own beliefs. They're oftentimes disregarded in having their own opinion. They're oftentimes disregarded in just being themselves, identifying themselves, and coming into who they are. And oftentimes, I have seen this in a lot of families that are on high platforms, families that, where they thrive on power. They thrive on being successful. They thrive on a popular image. They thrive on looking good. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are good or that they have a level of success that they portray, but they thrive on looking good, appearing good on images. And so what I found in my study is that a narcissistic child or a narcissistic adult was once a child who never got a chance to identify who they really are. And when you're not able to identify or grow into the person that you are, it causes a lot of animosity within. It causes a lot of self-hatred. It causes a lot of jealousy, a lot of enviness for people who are actually walking in their calling, for people who are actually successful, for people who are actually happy in life. And so narcissistic people are taught, whether directly or indirectly, from a parent who carries the narcissistic trait, which consists of the personalities of, again, it's a repetitive cycle. A narcissistic parent extends their own goals onto their child. And I know some of you have come in contact, or perhaps some of you have done it yourselves unknowingly, where you try to impose on your child your goals for them. You want your child to live this image that you feel they should live. You want them to live this lifestyle that you feel they should live. And not realizing that you're only entrapping your child within themselves. You're only causing them to bottle up their feelings, to bottle up their emotions, to not live a life that's real, but to live a fantasy life. And so as this child then goes through their life, goes through their adolescent years, they're trying to live up to the expectations of their parents or their guardians or those people who brought them up. And all along, it's causing them to create these monsters on the inside of them. And so when these narcissistic children then become narcissistic adults, they don't know how to have healthy relationships. They don't know how to identify what's reality versus fantasy, because their entire life they've lived a fantasy. They have lived a life that is not a life that's living up to what reality actually is, because they've lived up to the expectations of everyone else. I say, for example, take a child who perhaps wants to be a teacher, for example. Well, their parents bring them up. No, everyone in the family is a doctor. You're going to be a doctor. Let's plant this in your head. You're going to be a doctor when you grow up. You're going to go to college. You're going to go to med school. You're going to do all of these things. Well, that child can then begin to create some animosity within themselves. They'll never tell that to their parents because they respect them so much. They honor them so much. But on the inside, it's eating away at them. And they're not knowing that they're becoming this narcissistic person. And this narcissistic child then turns into a narcissistic adolescent, which then grows into a narcissistic adult. And then you have a full-blown narcissist that's going around wreaking havoc in the lives of so many people, not caring about anybody else, not caring about what other people do, not caring about abusing other people, not caring about what they're doing for their own gain, because they've lived an entire life that's a fantasy world. And so before we can understand what a narcissistic family is, we have to identify what a narcissist is. And it is an extreme disorder that has ruined so many lives, that has caused so much emotional abuse, that has caused so much manipulation. And some people may say that there's no way to heal from it. Scientifically, there is no cure for it, because it is a personality disorder. But it's a personality disorder that is not per se a medical disorder that is based on blood work and labs and things of that nature. But it is something that a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist can perhaps diagnose for that person. And according to my research, the way to treat this disorder is through therapy. And I find that that's something that we in the African American community, we don't often like to do, or we don't often like to be labeled as having a disorder or even seeing a therapist. And so that's when we have so many families that become dysfunctional, and we don't want to label them as being dysfunctional because it's been our normal. Well, when do we change what's normal? When do we change, what has been this fantasy world so that we can have healthy families, so that we can have families that are fully functional and living a life that's really and truly according to how God orchestrated us to live, And so I want people to be aware of what a narcissist is. I want people to be aware of what a narcissistic family is. Because this is such a dangerous thing. Even when you're trying to cut ties or break away from a narcissistic person or a person who carries the narcissistic traits, they become extremely vengeful to the point that you have to make sure you're protected. You have to make sure people around you are aware in some aspect of another of what you have gone through so that you have the proper protection that you need. And so let's dive in a little bit into the traits and the symptoms of a narcissist. Some of the traits, like we mentioned earlier, are a sense of self-entitlement. They feel entitled. They feel like no one can tell them no because their parents never told them no, because they were brought up to feel like there's some form of royalty. They were brought up to live in this fantasy world, to have everyone catering to them. And the parents don't realize, that when you do that to your children, you're causing them to grow up and to turn into these monsters, because the world is going to provide them with a rude awakening. The world is not going to give them everything. The world is not going to cater to them. You have to earn your way through life. You're not going to go through life thriving on handouts and thriving on this sense of self-entitlement. So one of the most important traits is that feeling of self-entitlement, which is also something that we refer to as self-importance. Or they're arrogant and they're very prideful. And when they feel entitled, they feel like they don't even have to provide an explanation or a reason, when someone does something for them. Or they even feel ungrateful. Some narcissists don't even feel like they have to say thank you when people do things for them. And a narcissist will go back and repetitively take and take and take from individuals with absolutely no remorse, no regret, no shame whatsoever. And, oftentimes we run into these, what we like to call cold-hearted people who show no remorse and no feelings whatsoever. But have you ever stopped to think about what has this person encountered in their childhood? I get it, and I understand it's not our job to diagnose someone. It's not our job to identify their childhood. They need to identify that themselves. But what I am learning and what I have learned, it's okay to be a help to someone, but you've got to know when to cut that thing off, identify the red flags, whether it's actually help or whether it's abuse or misuse of you and your resources. And when you cut it off, you got to still think about that person. Pray for them. Think about them from afar. Release them from your life. Think about them from afar. And you have to then question yourself. You got to go back and go to God yourself. And identify within yourself, why were you so drawn to this person? Why were you so drawn to this friendship or this connection or this family? Because everybody who's connected to you, they don't have good intentions. Everyone who tries to become a part of your life do not have your best interest at hand. So you have to make sure that you are using absolute divine discernment and wisdom with every person that comes into your life. And it's a scary thing. Because, we thrive on relationships. We thrive on connections. We want people in our lives. We want to build relationships. That's a part of how God created us, fellowshipping with other people. But we also have to use discernment and wisdom when we're doing so. So another trait is that, again, they have no guilt or shame when they exploit others. It's all for their benefit, and they will come and they will give you the most sorrowful sob story that they can give you. They will tell you the most sad thing, the most traumatic thing. They don't care who they use in the story to take from you. They will do whatever means necessary. They will use whomever they choose to use. It doesn't even matter if it's a best friend. If you are at a place in your life and you are successful and you have the resources behind your success, narcissists will come in and they will use you any way that they can, and they will then try to portray themselves as the victim, as being a victim, as to why they're taking from you or as to why they're needing you in their life. But no, you have to identify the flags and you got to cut them off quickly. And the only way for you to recover from dealing with a narcissist is absolute, completely, total shut down. That means cutting off all forms of communication, disassociating yourself with anyone who is neutrally connected, and making sure that you focus on you. You've got to have some alone time in order for you to fully recover from dealing with a narcissist or a narcissistic family. Another trait is they will attempt to intimidate. They will attempt to shame and belittle people, which is another form of bullying, which we call in this common day a form of emotional abuse and manipulation. Narcissistics are artists at this. They know how to do it and do it so well that you're not even aware that it's going on until after the fact. And so that is something that you have to be aware of. And this is something that they thrive on. It absolutely makes them feel good when they can belittle you, intimidate you, bully you, manipulate you, because on the inside, they know that that's exactly how they feel. And anytime that they can make someone else feel what they're feeling on the inside, to them, that's power. But you've got to, again, identify it and cut it off immediately. Another trait that narcissists hold, they are very, very jealous-hearted people. Extremely jealous-hearted people. Very vengeful. They are very, very vengeful. They believe in unlimited success. What do I mean by that? Unlimited success is pretty much, it speaks for itself. They thrive on power. And so whatever they can do, however many degrees they can go and obtain, however many certifications or titles or positions that they can acquire to make themselves appear to be something that they actually are not, they will do that. And they will do it by exploiting anyone, even their own family members. But at the same time, they will take those family members and they will guard them and they will protect them. But those who are outside of that family lineage, oh, you're toast to them. They will use you until they have absolutely used you up and you have no resources available to help anyone else. Another trait is that they are excessively charming. Narcissists are extremely charming. They have a way with words. They will appear to be extremely intelligent. They will appear to have it all together. Again, like I said, unlimited success. They feel entitled. They create this platform around themselves. They even create an entourage of supporters around them. These supporters are known as enablers because a narcissist is so charming and so manipulative that they will cause the people around them, called their enablers, to really think that they are not doing anything wrong, that they are the golden child, as I like to say, that they are the absolute perfect male or female. And these enablers will then begin to protect these narcissists, even when the narcissists are wrong, even when the narcissist has been exposed for abusing or misusing someone. These enablers will create this barrier around them to protect them, not knowing that this narcissist is actually wreaking havoc in their lives as well. And not knowing that, this narcissist is soon going to bring, if not all or mostly all of their life to ruin. And it's a really sad case. So another trait of the narcissist that we mentioned is they are extremely manipulative. And not only that, but a narcissist will create this grandiose scheme of stories to tell anyone who has a listening ear anything that they can tell them, for them to be a help to them, for them to use and abuse them. And so that's something to be aware of as well. Narcissists also target people who are nurturers. If you know that you are a nurturing person, a kind person, a person who loves to help others, a person who loves to serve others, and you genuinely do that, and that's just who you are a number one target for a narcissist. I'm not saying don't do that and don't be that way, because that's what I am, and I have run into several narcissists. But you have to be aware that you've got to set your boundaries. You have to set your limits, and you have to stick firm to your boundaries and your limits and not move, not gravitate away from those things for anyone. Because the minute that you let your guard down, the narcissist could come right in and you not even know it. And you've created this relationship, this connection, this friendship, this network, whatever it is. You've created this connection with this person who's only out to betray you, who's only out to use you, who's only out to abuse you. So it is so important that you identify these flags and make sure that you have yourself covered. And that comes along with discernment and wisdom. So what are some traits of a narcissistic family? Now that we have identified exactly what a narcissist is, the traits that a narcissistic person carries, now we can move on to talking about what a narcissistic family is. A narcissistic family is a family that has a strong sense of exclusiveness. They like everything to be exclusive. They want everything to be all about them. They create this platform. Yet again, they create this entourage that caters to them. If you don't match their quote unquote criteria, if you don't match their image in their fantasy world of the life that they want to live, then they will little by little boot you out of their life. They will ostracize you. They will cause you to lose connections if you're not careful. This particular narcissistic family is one that thrives, again, on power. They thrive on unlimited success. They want the titles. They want to look good. They want to feel good. They want to have all of these materialistic things, when in actuality, they either did not get them the correct way. They schemed to get them. They used other people to get them. They did all kinds of things to create this false sense of reality so that people would think that there's something that they're actually not. And deep on the inside, and if you dive a little closer, and if you get close to that narcissistic family, you'll see that they have a lot of brokenness. They have a lot of hollowness. They have a lot of darkness within them. And they have a lot of their own self-complexes, whether that be self-entitlement, self-importance, manipulation, all of those kinds of things all fall under that same category. Narcissistic families surround themselves, again, with people who cater to them. And it goes back to these narcissistic adults who were once children, who had maybe what seemed like the perfect childhood, the perfect family, but somewhere along the way, the parents or the guardians tried to steer those children and raise them according to their own goals. And they prevented these children from identifying themselves, from having their own identity. And that then caused these children to have that inward animosity and anger and jealousy that was initially towards their parents. But they wouldn't dare show that because of their honor and their respect for their parents. And so that anger and that jealousy began to come out in other forms, in other relationships, and other connections, not realizing that when you grow up and to be a narcissist adult and you go out and you hurt and you abuse other people, you're still affecting your family. It may be indirectly, but you are still having an effect on your family. You are still affecting your family name. You are still bringing shame to your family. And it all goes back to you getting those wounds healed that should have been healed in your childhood. And a lot of people don't come into knowledge about that until after they've become adults. And, it's okay. I'm not judging anyone based on that. But the moment that you come into the realization that you have been living a fantasy life, something that's unrealistic, I encourage you, reach out to a therapist, reach out to a counselor, get the help that you need so that you can start to live a healthy and fully functional life. Another thing with a narcissist is that a narcissistic adult is the reflection of a narcissistic parent. Maybe both, maybe one or the other. But a narcissistic adult is a reflection of someone around them who was a part of their life, a heavy part of their life as they were growing up, that also carried the narcissistic traits. And, that's a hard thing for us to get our eyes on, and that's a hard thing for us to grasp an understanding of, because when you have a family that thrives on power and success and titles and materialistic things. You've got all these people surrounding them that just want to be popular, a group of people who don't know who they are within themselves. And anytime you have that, you're going to have so many enablers connected to these narcissists and connected to the narcissistic family. They're not going to want to change. They're not going to be able to have their eyes open to change because they're not going to see that anything is wrong. Because everyone around them, they have manipulated them to cater to their fantasy world. And so the minute that you identify that you have been connected to a narcissist in some form or another, you have to immediately separate yourself. That means breaking off all contact. But you have to be aware, because the minute that you decide to separate yourself from a narcissist or a narcissistic family, all arrows are going to come your way. They're going to attempt to slander your name, to defame your character. They're going to attempt to try to bring some form of unhappiness to your life. But that's a personal choice. They can try. But, you know, you have to be reminded and encouraged that, as the Word of God says, no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. So that means that the weapons may form, the arrows may attempt to be shot, but they're going to miss you. You're going to dodge it, you know, because God has you covered, you know. And so I want to make you guys as aware as possible about what a narcissist is, what the narcissistic traits are. And there are levels to being a narcissist. There are different traits that some narcissists hold that others do not. And, you know, and there are even different categories. When a narcissist is in a friendship, there's a different personality. When they are in a networking relationship, it's a different category. When they are in a romantic connection, it's a different category. And versus a family connection, it's a different category. There are so many categories of narcissists, and there are so many traits that are looming out there that narcissists exhibit. You know, one of the key things is gaslighting and mirroring. A narcissist is an expert at mirroring your effect. They will mirror your behavior. They will mirror what it is that you have told them. They will listen intently to everything that you tell them. And in the back of their mind, they are planning on how they can take the information that you have provided to them and use it against you, which is a form of manipulation. Use it against you to get what they want or to get what only benefits them. And at the end, they're not going to have any regard for you or any regard for what has perhaps hurt you, because it's all about them and their self-entitlement and their self-importance and how they can gain, because that's what a narcissist is about. So listen, there's so much information on this topic. I would love to provide more information to you guys. I am going to continue my research. I've been in deep research about this, and I think that it is something that so many people need to know about. Not just divorced women, not just divorced men, but all people need to know about the narcissistic traits, because it is on an all-time high. And now that we have common people, those of us who are not certified, not licensed, now that we have identified the topic or the disorder for this particular thing, it is something that we need to make sure that we are aware of. And so listen, this is Stephanie Lowe, CEO and founder of the J29 Experience. Stay tuned as I prepare more videos coming to you guys about this topic and many other things. And I want you to know that here at J29, this is only one of the many topics and discussions that we provide within the resources. And not only do we have just the information, but we have actual physical resources to help people get the recovery that they need when dealing with different types of people. And it's not just about a romantic relationship or a marriage. You know, you can come in contact with the narcissist on your job. You have to be able to know how to identify them, how to deal with them, and how to prevent it from being a recurring issue in your life. And so whatever you may be facing on today, I want you to know you are strong enough to get through this, because God has created within you the strength that you need. Everything you need is right there within. And should you find yourself going through something that you feel is extremely overwhelming, reach out to us here at J29. We would love to pray with you, pray for you. If you are a divorced woman who is either in a divorce or coming out of a divorce, we would love to provide you with the resources that you need to rebuild, restore your life. Because J29 is a resource center that believes in facilitating change in women who have been through a divorce as well as your families. So reach out to us. We want to hear from you and let me know what you guys think about this video. I want to hear your feedback. I do take that into consideration. And my goal is to heal someone else. So I love you guys. Be sure to check out www.j29experience.com. Reach out to me on all of my social media handles. And remember, share this video so that someone else can be blessed as well. Bye, loves. Have an awesome day.